Hey friends, as you may know, REST APIs are often described using an OpenAPI definition. Justin Yu has built an extension to bring the OpenAPI capability to Azure Functions. He's here to show me how it works using .NET 6 and Visual Studio 2022 today on Azure Friday. Hey friends, I'm Scott Hanselman and it's Azure Friday. I'm here with Justin Yu. How are you, sir?
Hi, Scott. I'm fine, thank you. How's it going?
It's going very well. I'm excited to spend time with you today because you've built an interesting thing and you're going to show me how I can make better open API systems using Azure Functions and .NET. And .NET is one of my favorite things. So I'm looking forward to learning from you, sir.
That's correct. I'm really pleased to have a chance to talk with you about this OpenAPI extension on Azure Functions runtime.
Mm-hmm. So I've made a few web APIs and I've used things like Swagger and Swashbuckle. So I understand that OpenAPI is a web services description language for REST APIs. It's a standard, right?
That's correct. So I think we can start from this part. First of all, we need to discuss what the OpenAPI is. The OpenAPI is a document that describes how your HTTP API or web API looks like. So how they operate and what messages they transfer. So back in the day, we used to have the WSDL, which is still used for many legacy web service applications. And nowadays, as Scott mentioned, the modern web API applications use this OpenAPI spec to describe their services and messages. So with this OpenAPI document, we can decouple both producing and consuming applications. Both the applications are built with their own development velocity.
Interesting. That's a very important thing that you point out there, that it's not just consuming them, but producing them as well. So you can do things in a design first approach, but you can do that by writing code.
Yep. So we've got Swashbuckle for ASP.NET Web API, but we haven't got a similar thing for the Azure Functions so far. So I built this extension by myself since 2019. So back in my Microsoft MVP days, and fortunately, it's now become the Microsoft official extension for the Azure Functions.
Congratulations, that's very exciting.
Okay, thank you. So as you can see this diagram, so with these OpenAPI extensions on Azure Function app, we can integrate virtually any applications as long as they use the OpenAPI, such as the Logic apps, Power Automate, the Power apps through their custom connector, and Azure API Management and static web apps and app services.
That's really cool. So that means that if I make an OpenAPI compliant web service, I can really consume it from anywhere, any tool, anywhere in the world.
That's correct. So do you mind starting with how we can create the Azure Functions with OpenAPI enabled the capability?
Yes, let's do it.
Sure. So we have the Visual Studio 2022, and then I have now the blank the solution file. Now I'm creating the Azure Functions project here. So I started with Azure Functions, and I'm using, actually there are two approaches using creating Azure Functions. One is using the in-process worker, and the other one is out-of-process worker, which is introduced in .NET 5 world. But now in .NET 6, we can use both in-process worker and out-of-process worker. So what I'm going to show you now is using the in-proc applications and followed by out-of-process worker.
Okay.
So in-proc, so I'm going to create the in-proc apps here. Then we have a few options to choose. So there are two options, .NET 6 and .NET Isolated here. But for now, we are using .NET 6, which is in-process worker. Then if you choose it, there is another option called HTTP trigger with OpenAPI options. So we can choose it. And then for now, I'm going to choose the anonymous, the authentication level. So then just create it. And actually, this is it. This is all we need to do, because once we create this project with OpenAPI extension, then you will be able to see like is the OpenAPI decorators. So many OpenAPI decorators in there, and this is the magic thing to get your Azure Functions application enabled with the OpenAPI capability.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when you see, but as of this the recording, I think the OpenAPI the extensions is going to be GA very soon, very soon. So I'm going to the update this the application the extension version for now. So currently the template shows the 0.7.2, but the latest version is 0.9.1 preview 1. So I'm just updating the latest one. Then yeah, everything is fine. So I'm just building the applications, and once I finish it, then so once I build finish, then I can start the debugging mode. Then so the key is that I only have this one endpoint, but it as soon as I install the OpenAPI extension, it has this additional 4 endpoint, which is related to displaying the Swagger UI and OpenAPI document itself.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm just copying this Swagger UI, the URL, then oops, then place it, and that's what you are seeing. So this is the Swagger UI based on your Azure Functions application, and this is the automatically generated from the OpenAPI extension. So yeah, it has the everything we can. So this Swagger UI actually works as a test harness, so you can test it the API from the web UI, say Azure Friday, and it says execute, and the result is like that. So yeah, and this the what I show you now is that the Azure Functions applications they're working perfectly in your local environment.
Okay, so you're using the local Azure Functions runtime and you're running it in
That's right.
process here on your local machine. Azure Functions, of course, a cloud service, but you're simulating it by running the functions locally. You made
That's
one
correct.
endpoint, then
Yep.
got other endpoints for free for authorization, OpenID documentation, and a free test harness,
That's
courtesy
correct.
of the Swashbuckle extension.
Yep.
Cool.
So this is a UI, and here is the OpenAPI document here. And as you can see, as a default, this is the OpenAPI version 2, which is known as Swagger. But if you want to change it to version 3, then simply change it, the URL OpenAPI version 3 JSON file. Then it shows the version 3 of the OpenAPI spec.
Nice.
And it has the OpenAPI.NET, the NuGet package, and which is currently supporting the 3.0.1. So that's why we are seeing the 3.0.1. And if your application supports YAML file, then simply change the URL to YAML. Then you will be able to see the OpenAPI document in YAML format.
Very cool.
Yeah. So which is really cool. So as long as your application supports OpenAPI spec, then this extension with Azure Function will be your best friend.
All right, sounds good. I like that so far.
Now it's time to publish this application to the Azure. So I have already created an instance on Azure already. So what I need to do now is just right-click Publish here. Then we can choose the Azure or something else. But for now, we are going to use Azure here. Then the Azure Functions, the instance can be Linux or the Windows or Linux or something else. But for now, I'm using the Windows now. Then I can choose the the old all the instance here. So function app as a Friday, the West US 2 instance I created, then API management as well. So if you want to integrate as the API management with Azure Functions, because it's possible, because it's using the OpenAPI. So I use the info app here, then click finish. Then so now we have the one, we have the application ready for publish. So I'm clicking the publish button. Then it will be deployed into Azure. And it takes time. It takes time. Sometimes, depending on your network latency, it takes about a minute or two. Sometimes it takes about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I created already created the app for you.
Okay.
So
cool.
So this is the one. So I'm deploying here. I'm deploying the as a Friday application here, but it's now being deployed now. So I added I already added the deployed the application on as a different resource group and different the app service. So this is as a function app.
Okay.
Then
so Azure Function already in West US 2.
Yep. So here, so click the URL, and it says the Azure Functions version 4 runtime is already up and running. Then if I so click the URL, then it says it's already deployed onto Azure, the website, the Azure Functions web application, and everything works fine. Oops. Then if I go into the API management side, and it's also already deployed into this Azure Functions OpenAPI. And then if I click the run and just simply test here, I put the name, any value, Azure Friday, then it will be showing me the result like that. Hello.
Nice.
Azure
So
Friday.
you're using, in this case, APIM as a cloud-enabled test harness directly from the Azure portal. And now we're seeing that go from APIM into Azure Functions into your .NET service that you wrote in Visual Studio.
That's correct.
Cool. Very cool. So then can I consume that? How do I talk to these functions and become a client of them?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. So we now have the OpenAPI, the enabled Azure Functions through the the API management, and the Azure Functions application itself is OpenAPI enabled capability. So if you want to have the greater control in terms of the security-wise or the permissions or policy-wise, I think the API management is a great place to use. But sometimes you just need the simple approach, simple integration directly with the Azure Functions application through OpenAPI. In that case, I think we can directly use this the OpenAPI, the Swagger UI from the Azure Functions application here. So this is the swagger.json. So I just simply change it to OpenAPI version 2, and I'm going to use this URL for the later use. So I'm just copy this one, and then I have the Power Apps here, for example. Cool. So probably previously I showed you about we can create a custom connector for Power Platform applications such as Power Apps or Power Platform, and even the Logic Apps in Azure. So we need to create a custom connector to consume these Azure functions through OpenAPI in here. So I create the custom connector. I need to create a custom connector here, and there are the bunch of options here. So we can choose the import OpenAPI from URL. So simply I can create the OpenAPI URL here, then paste it, and say this is the greeting thing. So greetings, and import it. Probably this is the error happening. So, so what's the error happen? Because so it says course error.
Right.
So CORS, so we have CORS error. So the Azure Functions application, we need to add this the Power Automate side to get the to import this OpenAPI URL. So I just simply copy this one
Right.
into.
So that CORS error, that cross-origin resource sharing, is indicating that this is protected and it has not been whitelisted or allow listed rather through Azure Power Apps. You're going to tell it about Power Apps, and that will allow it to call that.
That's correct.
That method.
So we need to let the Azure Functions know the Power Apps is going to reference that application.
Cool.
So in here, so I'm back to application and Azure Function application, and say there is some course.
Yep, you passed it right there.
Yep, there we go. And we have nothing registered yet. So I'm just copying the flow.microsoft.com, then the save it. So it's updated, and now back to this one, then start import again. Then see how yeah, it's done. So there the error has gone. So I can start and click the continue button, and then actually that's it. That's it for me. And so everything is already done. So I don't have to do anything. Just simply click the connector button here. Then it creates a custom connector for me, and for Power Apps or Power Automated to use. Then so see how it's going. So we have the custom connector also has its own test harness, the interface here. So once it's created, then I can show you how to create the custom connector test. So yeah, here in the test part, we have a custom connector, but we are ready to use this custom connector, but we don't have the actual information where to how to communicate with OpenAPI extension, OpenAPI the Azure function. So we need to create a new connection here. Then just simply create a connection. Then we have the greetings connection there. So back to the custom connector. So simply click the edit button, back to test here. Then we now have the connection, live connection. So we are ready to use this connector. Then here, the run the Azure Friday again. So and test operation, click, then it should return the same thing. So message, hello Azure Friday. So now we've got the custom connector, they successfully generated. Now we are ready to use this custom connector within the Power Apps.
Very cool. So now you've done another test harness, except now we've graduated to Power Apps, and our test connector and our test harness is far more interesting because now you can go and create an application with that connector.
Yeah. So back to let's create Power Apps here. So I'm going to use the greetings app. And here, create Canvas app here. Then it shows me this interface. Then I'm just simply adding two controls. One is button, and the other one is label. And then, so the scenario is if I click this button, and this the label will show me the the message, the hello as of Friday. Right? So in here, but we haven't got the custom connector into within the Power Apps. So we now have the greetings I just created. So I'm just adding this custom connector here. And then it says, so this is the custom connector we just add. So click the button. Then in here, I'm using the custom connector, and okay, here. So I'm calling Azure Functions OpenAPI extension and run. And here I'm just passing the name Azure Friday. That's about it. But it's not enough for the Power Apps. Power Apps is actually using the functions like Excel functions. So we can just simply add the another functions to get the value, the response value from the Azure the functions. So add clear collect result. Oops. And so this is the way of the calling the Azure functions through custom connector from the Power Apps. So we got the result, and as you see, the result collection has been generated. So now I'm changing this text value from to get the result value. So for result, then message. So now I'm ready. So it looks disappeared. So if I click this button, then it runs the result and it will display something in here. So we'll see. So it takes time and it should return the result. Okay. So, okay. So something is interesting. So yeah.
Right now you're pulling out first result dot message. Should it be message or greeting? Is message the correct property?
So when you yeah, good question.
Because the result collection, the message is correct. It actually said hello Azure Friday in your, if you go back to your Power App, it says hello Azure Friday, and then it adds additional information at the end there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is actually what the Azure Functions is setting. Azure Function is the set like that. When we see the applications here, hello, some name, and this has HTTP triggered function executed successfully. So this message is returned. So that's why we are
all there. So that is correct.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we are now correctly seeing the messages. So we call the Azure Functions application, we call Azure Functions application through custom connector from Power Apps, and we can apply the same approach for the Power Automate and Logic Apps as well. Very
cool. So where can I learn more about this? Is there a GitHub repository or somewhere that I could visit?
Oh yeah, sure. So we have, so if you learn more about how we can integrate your Azure Functions application with OpenAPI extension and API management, there is a web page on the docs.microsoft.com called Create Serverless APIs in Visual Studio using Azure Functions and API management integration. So please visit this page and follow the instruction, and you will be able to get your own Azure Functions application. Very cool. Well, that's fantastic. We're going to put links to the show notes for the code, the GitHub repository, as well as the documentation. Thank you so much, Justin, for your time today. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I am learning all about how to deploy OpenAPI-enabled Azure Functions with .NET and Visual Studio today on Azure Friday. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Azure Friday. Now I need you to like it, comment on it, tell your friends, retweet it. Watch more Azure Friday.